What's up, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Coffeez for Closers, where we speak to industry leaders shaping the future. Today's guest is a self-made entrepreneur who overcame adversity to become the founder and CEO of The Mortgage Guys, Ambiance Realty, and Driven Enterprises. Starting from humble beginnings, he built a multi-million-dollar empire and is now a driving force in not just the mortgage industry, but also the self-help space as well. From surviving the 2008 mortgage meltdown to becoming a real estate investor and motivational speaker, he's an inspiration to thousands across the globe. Let's dive into his incredible journey and meet the one, the only Albert Preciado.
Hey, thank you for the introduction. I never had an introduction like that.
Thanks, Albert.
I should hire you full time for that.
I know. Thank you. I get that a lot. I feel like my introductions are just the best in the space,
Yeah.
I appreciate you coming down. I appreciate you making the time to meet with us here at our headquarters, and I look forward to jumping on your show at one point. Albert, you've always been on my radar, not only just to meet. I've been a fan. I've been following you. I know you're doing a lot of big things in the not just the mortgage industry, but I love what you're doing with your brand. You've built a massive brand, the Mexican Prince of Bel-Air, very, very catchy. And then all the conferences you're doing, the Driven conferences are rocking. You get big speakers out, and you're really making an impact on people's lives, and I appreciate that about you. So cheers to you, my brother.
Cheers for that.
All right. So
number one thing is you have a massive brand, yourself. And the thing is that one of my rules is when somebody recommends or refers me to someone else, I don't think about it. So I'm just like, hey, like they were asking me, hey, sign into your Instagram, and when they tell you that, it's like, oh shit, it's almost like somebody taking out your wife on a date or something like that. But it's like something that, imagine somebody jacks or steals your Instagram.
I know, it's terrifying.
But it's like, one of the biggest lessons I've learned is to work with people or partner with people or do things with people that are referred. So like when you come referred by Dan Fleischman, he's like, hey, you got to meet him. I think he texted us in a group text.
Yeah.
And I was driving, and then I'm like, who is this guy? And I'm like, well, Dan said call him. So we spoke. Now I'm here. So thank you for having me here. And you're awesome. You're killing it.
Yeah. And what's great about these relationships is like, who knows what's going to be born out of this relationship? Like what sort of ideas, what sort of synergies, what sort of partnerships are going to be born out of this relationship? Yeah. And that's what's exciting. That's what's exciting. Actually, it was Dan who said on my show, it's like the most powerful thing I have is the people on my phone.
Right.
Like your networks are truly your net worth. And
because at some point you stop looking for new people. You stop, like, let's say you need a lawyer. You don't Google top lawyer. You need somebody that's going to help you with a mortgage company. You don't Google it. You get your phone and you're like, okay, let me ask my circle of influence. Hey, do you guys know a top lawyer? Do you guys know a top mortgage person? Yeah, this guy. And boom, you just referrals only.
Yeah, and that's where we're at. Thankfully, we have that blessing where we can work with our inner circle.
You're like the Egyptian version of me here in Irvine.
Yeah, I should call myself the Egyptian Prince of Bel-Air. Prince of Irvine. Oh, it'd be Newport Beach for me.
Newport Beach,
yeah. So I like to start the show off with a couple opening questions. And what's just the 20,000 foot overview of the Preciado Empire?
You're talking about the headquarters?
All your companies. What do each one do?
The headquarters is like 20,000 square feet.
Oh yeah,
like the floor that we have right there.
Oh, it's literally
on the Sunset, yes, nearly 20,000 square feet. So what we started creating was, I used to call it my triangle, because I didn't before I started into business. I don't know much about business, but I'm just I'm hungry. I'm hungry, I'm humble, and I'm coachable. So I've always been like that. So I want to learn, but at first you got to make mistakes. So I'm calling it a triangle, because I have mortgage, I have real estate, and then I have driven. And then, that's vertical integration. So I started vertical integrating a lot of businesses that feed each other.
Yeah.
Mortgage was my first company, because I was a loan officer. I was a loan officer when I was 19, 20 years old. So I started in mortgage, And then I was just a loan officer. I was getting my commissions. And then 2008 happened. When 2008 happened, I lost everything, became homeless. I slept in the Ford Explorer for 2 months. So 2 months, I was sleeping in the Ford Explorer with my now wife, Sil. And I just didn't want to quit. So I didn't want to quit the mortgage space. I stayed in the mortgage space. And then I recovered. And then slowly, it started getting better. And then 2013, I get a call from a lender rep. Her name is Gina Carr. And she tells me, hey, Albert, you should start a mortgage company. You're an entrepreneur and you think like an entrepreneur. And I didn't even think about it. Like I wasn't even thinking about being a business owner. Although I did read the book Rich Dad Poor Dad when I was young, when I was 19 years old. And I always thought about it, but I never really thought I would ever be a business owner. So I said, let me go for it. Let me do it. I Googled how to open up a mortgage company and I just winged it. And then we started The Mortgage Guy, and then problem after problem after problem after problem. And long story short, I know you said I was a real estate investor. I was a real estate investor. Over time, I bought 18 properties. And then what happened is year 1, year 2, year 3, I'm going out of business in mortgage because it just doesn't make sense. I'm making less money than when I used to be a loan officer because now I have all the expenses, liability. I get the lawsuits. I get all the problems. So I end up selling
all things we're working on solving.
Yeah. You're always solving for X, solving for something. So I start selling each property one by one until I sell all of them, which the net of that was $2 million around there. So I had $2 million that I got from selling all the properties just to pay and survive the whole mortgage upcoming. And then after years, right, we started, so 11 years, Ambiance Realty has been active in business for 11 years. That's the real estate company.
Yeah.
Mortgage Guys is going on 13 years. And then Driven Enterprise is going on 9 years. So we started those 3 companies. We started doing the events. And then the events helped us recruit more agents, helped us get more customers. And now we're here.
You've been doing a great job, and then you've also done a great job with just the brand, the Albert Preciado brand. All over social media, big following, big social media following, and it's very rare in our space. And I was talking about this with you earlier. It's there's just not a lot of people who have a big personal brand in our space,
right?
It's just not something that we have really embraced in our space. Obviously, I've been campaigning a lot for that, and I'm sure you have too. So we're going to see hopefully some massive changes and. It's good to be leaders on that forefront in our space. And I also like to follow up that question is with another question, which is what is Albert Preciado's morning routine? What is your morning routine? What do you do every single morning?
It's changed over time, but what I do is I get 3 days out of 1. Okay. So my most important day is the morning. The first part, which is, so I get day 1 is from 6 in the morning till 12. My second mini day is from 12 to 6, and my third mini day is from 6 to 12. So sometimes it's 6 to 12, 6 in the morning till midnight, but sometimes it's 5 a.m. till 11 p.m. So I sleep 6 hours, but my first mini day is my morning, which is 6 to 12 on the average. And what I do though during the first day is I focus on the important things. I work on myself. I work in the business, and what's working on yourself, working out. What's working in the business, working on systems, on processes, on the next innovative campaign. What's going to be the next disruption that you're going to create? So that's what I like to do before 12.
So compartmentalize your day.
Yeah.
Into 3 day.
Like I'm not going to do a podcast at 10 in the morning. I'm not going to take meetings at 10 in the morning because then that I just lost my most important part of my day. So all of that training, meetings, podcasts, they have to happen after 12. So 12 to 6, that's the time for that. And then 6 to midnight is when I have dinners, and usually dinners, I either go with my wife or I like to have dinners with other future or current business partners, because I feel like if you go to dinner just to have dinner, you're wasting an opportunity to create another relationship. So I like to take advantage of dinners.
That's awesome. So I like how you, and I love asking that question because everyone does their morning routine different. And everybody just, every time I ask that question,
I don't do cold plunges. I don't do any of that shit.
That's all. I don't think I've talked to one guy that goes, I wake up. Actually, no, maybe I asked one person he did it.
Yeah.
But I've had, so many founders and CEOs here, and everyone does their morning routine different. And there was only one guy that did the cold plunge.
Yeah.
And he had it in his house, and he just got it installed, and he just got on that kick.
Yeah.
Man, but I can't do cold. I'm from Egypt, man. We don't do cold. I do the sauna.
I mean, I rather get in the jacuzzi than a cold plunge.
Yeah, I mean, that sounds painful.
I don't need the cold plunge to wake me up. Like when you wake up, you wake up.
A cold shower, which I hate. We had the hot water not working yesterday, and I had to take a cold shower, and that was already like it was punishment.
It reminds me when I was broke. I don't need to remind myself that I'm broke jumping into a cold plunge.
Yeah, it's like really like dissatisfying.
I mean, if you need motivation and you need to get on a cold plunge to get motivated and to wake up, I think you have bigger issues.
That's
like
true.
I wake up motivated. I'm like shit. Like most of the time I wake up and I feel like shit. By the way, is it fine if I say shit or
yeah, that's fine. You're good. Yeah,
yeah. So like I wake up,
real, bro.
I wake up and I feel like shit. Wake up, first thing I do, take a piss, and then I'm like, okay, I'm up. So I want to feel better. I start my day, then I'm thankful that I'm alive.
Yeah.
Because you get one more day of life.
Yeah.
But every day, I want to live it like it's my last day. So 2 things I always do every single day. I live my life like it's my last day, and I never leave home without giving a kiss to my 3 little daughters.
Give a kiss to?
Yeah, kiss my daughters every time I leave the house.
I smother those kids like
I kiss him before I leave, and I tell him I'm gonna be right back. But I always want to give him a kiss because what if one day I don't come back? At least I left the house giving them a kiss.
Yeah.
Those are 2 rules that I never break. Never. I could be like, somebody could be, something could be happening that's crazy, or I might be super late to something. I'm not going to leave the house without giving my 3 little daughters a kiss.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Now, I like to also ask, like, out of all the businesses you could have started or, began with, why'd you start in the mortgage industry?
Because that's what I knew. I didn't know anything else. And I think when you start a business, you got to start a business that you know, or you got to partner with somebody that knows the business. Like, it would be dumb for me or for you to go start a restaurant business if you don't know anything about restaurants. It would be dumb for you to be, you know what, let me start a solar business. You don't know anything about solar. Now, if you partner up with somebody that knows solar, then it makes perfect sense. But you got to understand the business you're starting, because business is very hard.
Yeah.
And it's already hard enough. And what people don't understand, I don't know if you've been through this, but when you start a business and you've been open and active for a decade, you're going to get lawsuits. You're going to go through a lot of times where you're almost going out of business. You're going to battle a lot of heart attacks. You're going to get attacked. You're going to get hated. You're going to have everything, IRS problems, state of California, if you're in California, problems. You're going to get a lot of stuff that's going to happen, and it's going to be a battle. So what I tell people is I have a triangle that goes up in pain thresholds. So you got to be a level 6 pain threshold to make it past 10 years. If you're level 3, level 4, you're not going to make it. Level 5, maybe you make it past 5 years, but you got to be a level 6 to make it past 10 years.
That's true.
Because somebody that's been in business for 5 years hasn't been tested yet. Like people don't make it past 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years. Okay, now you get my attention, but let's see 10 years, because somebody that has been flashing and showing a lifestyle or showing some success for 3 years hasn't been tested yet. They're going to go through some stuff. And I don't think they'll bounce back. It's very hard.
Yeah, I mean, the world of entrepreneurship is not getting easier. It's just getting more difficult.
Yeah.
What do you think, like, for you, what do you think was your source of inspiration to become an entrepreneur?
My parents always wanted to buy a house. And they had, my dad and my mom, they had like $40,000, $50,000 saved up. And this was back in 1990. So I'm about 6 years old. and 6, 7 years old, like my daughter Italia now. And I remember we were looking for a house in Burbank. You know Burbank?
Yeah.
So we were looking for homes in Burbank. 1990, there's houses in Burbank for about 85, 90K. Now you don't find anything in Burbank for under $1 million. So we were very close to finding a house, but my parents were never able to get it because they had a bad realtor, a bad loan officer, and they just didn't have the knowledge on how to do it right. And every time they had dreams, they fell short. I used to go paint homes with my dad. I was 6 years old. I used to go paint with him when we had holidays, weekends, days, whatever, spring break. I would go with him to work. And I remember he used to paint homes in Beverly Hills, Bel Air, and nice cars, all green. And I remember I asked my dad one time, "Hey, Dad, how come we don't live here? How come we live in the ghetto? Like, why do we live in an ugly place where there's shootings, drug dealings? Why don't we live here where we come paint?" And he explained to me, rich and poor. There's there's the really wealthy rich people, and then there's the middle class. Like, what's the difference between middle class and poor people? It's the same.
Well, now
it's the same shit.
Is middle class is poor in California.
If you're poor, like I was speaking at an event and I said, who here is poor, and people like I get a few hands up and I'm like, who's middle class? And then a lot of people raise their hands and I'm like, it's the same shit. Like, there's no difference. So my dad explained to me, like, hey, there's a really rich people. And I said, well, Dad, how come we don't live here? How come we can't do this? How do we do it? And he said, it's not for us. So I was always inspired because I told my dad, hey, I'm going to prove you that it is for us. And I asked my dad, how do you do it? How can I do it, Dad? And he said, if you work harder than everybody else and you never quit, maybe you could accomplish this. And I told my dad, okay, I'm going to show you. I promise you that one day I'm going to be really successful. I'm going to be the most successful. I'm going to be the millionaire, the rich. I don't even know if I said millionaire, but I told him I'm going to be the richest, successful person in our family. And I'm going to show you. So my dad and my mom, they're the best parents like anybody can ask for. Like we couldn't have asked for better parents. My dad and my mom, super ethical, hard workers. And that's what I learned from them. Hard work and being ethical. And so I wanted to do it for them. I wanted to show them that it was possible.
So your resilience, your tenacity, your grit, and even your motivation to start your own company all came from your parents?
From my parents, yeah. And my parents sent me to school. I used to take the school bus. I used to go to Granada Hills. And back then...
That was the nicer part, huh?
It was nice, yeah, because I used to live in Echo Park, but before Echo Park became what it is today, so before it was ugly. But Granada Hills back then was like beautiful, and it's the first time I came across like white people, because where I lived, everybody was like Latino.
Yeah.
And over there, I went there, and everybody was white. Like you're Egyptian, but you're light skinned, blue eyes.
I'm real familiar with Granada Hills. I used to go there too all the time from Simi Valley.
I'm a brown guy, so I'm a brown kid. I
had reverse racism, so I grew up in a brown community as the only white guy.
We had the opposite problem.
Yeah, and everyone made fun of me for being white.
Yeah, well, I had the opposite. People made fun of me because they called me wetback. They told me go back to Mexico.
Or you just go back to Echo Park. Nobody's making fun of you.
Right. But I would have turned out maybe I would have ended up being a gangster or something like that. Yeah. 18th Street was the one, or Mara Salvatrucha was for Salvadorians. I don't know, but I got bullied and humiliated in school, so that also motivated me because I got bad grades. People made fun of me. ESL student, they put me in special ed, then ESL, because they noticed, well, he's not special ed, but he's ESL. He just doesn't understand. So I was even more motivated going through school and dealing with all the bad treatment. And I said, I'm going to leave this high school, Kennedy High School. That's where I went. And I'm going to show all these people that I'm going to be somebody. And I started working on all the stuff that I didn't like about myself.
Nice. So you didn't go to college. You just went straight to grit.
I went to college and I dropped out from college.
Yeah. What college? Was it CSUN?
Glendale Community College.
Okay. So you've seen a lot of challenges. You've overcome some extreme adversity. What sort of challenges do you foresee in the future with your different businesses?
I don't. Well, you're always going to have challenges. I have challenges every day,
Yeah.
but I think that the biggest challenge anyone can have right now is if they don't adapt.
Yeah.
So, people with a lot of experience, and they say, I have a lot of experience in mortgage. I've been in mortgage for 30 years, and they're like all excited and pumped up about it, but they're broke. They're making less money than they used to make 30 years ago.
Yeah.
And I'm like, dude, guys, you don't have experience. You don't have 30 years of experience. You have one year of experience repeated 30 times. You haven't grown. Like, you should be embarrassed. Like, if you have 20 years of experience, 30 years of experience, even worse, like, you should be embarrassed because you're in the same spot. In 30 years, you should have grown. Like, every year you should have doubled. And I know there's recessions, there's bad economies, and it's all right to like drop for a few years, but you got to level up still. You got to recover and then keep going up, because real estate is always like this. It drops, but it's always going vertical. So 30 years of experience is no good, especially in real estate and mortgage, if you don't adapt and pivot. And what do I mean by that? You got to start using AI. You got to start using technology. You got to start using social media. You got to get into all the new stuff, because if you don't, your competitors, especially the fresher ones, the younger ones, they're going to take over.
Yeah, and that's what's happening in our industry. You see a lot of mortgage professionals, they just don't want to adapt.
Yeah.
It's such an archaic business, like the ideology of adapt or die just doesn't resonate. Like personal brand, why would I need a personal brand? Or what do you mean AI?
You saw what happened to the dinosaurs. That's what I call them, dinosaurs. They didn't adapt.
It's funny that you say that. It's kind of like they talk about this. I had the CEO of Blockbuster on here 2 days ago.
Yeah.
And I asked him the question. I'm like, so everybody wants to know what happened with Netflix and Blockbuster.
He didn't adapt.
So no, it's not that. Actually, it's funny because everyone uses them as the poster child for adapt or die. Everybody. Like if you were to use your analogy right now, you'd go, look at what happened with Blockbuster and them not acquiring Netflix. Well, that's not really what happened. What happened was it happened during the '08 crisis, and they had $1 billion on their balance sheet, and they couldn't refinance the debt, so they just had to file BK. And they actually had owned a streaming company, and because they couldn't get like the bailout, they just basically went under. They went belly.
They had $1 billion in debt.
Yeah, they had $1 billion on the balance sheet. They couldn't, refi. It was like that. The debt was too high, so they had to.
Couldn't they refi?
They had to fire. He knew he didn't. He just didn't do the bankruptcy the right way. He could have done a better job with the Chapter 11. That's what he said that on the show. So
See that's another thing. Like, a lot of people don't understand that a lot of these people there's Chapter 11 bankruptcy that you could use.
He could have done that, but
100%.
their board didn't. He had the board and they didn't sign off, and so they could have. Blockbuster could have been much bigger than Netflix because they actually owned streaming at the time,
Right.
and Netflix didn't own streaming. So they had already acquired a streaming company, but they just had. It was just bad timing. The '08 crash ruined them.
So people don't know. Like, I love reading. Like, I used to read a book a week, and if I did it for the longest years, like I went on big runs, and you got to study history because history repeats.
Yeah.
And that's why contacts, like your circle of influence, is really important, because you could grab your phone and you could be like, hey, friend, bail me out. I need $1 million. I need $5 million. I need this. I need that. Jeff Bezos, he starts Amazon, right? And what happens? He starts Amazon. I think it's 1995. And he needs money. He's going out of business. And you know what he does? He sells 20% of his company for $1 million.
Man.
And that 20 million, that 20% that he sold for $1 million, guess how much that's worth now?
I don't even want to think about it.
Multiple hundreds of billions. Yeah.
Best investment ever.
People don't understand, though, that the Jeff Bezos of today wouldn't be alive or here if he didn't raise or sell 20% of his company for $1 million. And that's why business is it's the long game. and people don't get that. Like I'm sure you have a lot of followers. You do a lot of funny stuff on social media too. I'm sure you have some haters, right?
Dude, if I don't have haters, I'm not doing social media right.
Yeah.
If I don't have haters, like, then I'm failing.
Yeah. So like when I came here, you told me something. You said that Albert's very what?
Very, very polite guy.
Very polite guy, right? Not nice guy.
Yeah.
I'm
Very
I'm
nice,
very polite, nice.
Yeah.
So
And then I'm like, but you got a lot of haters too.
yeah. So people don't see that. See, like my assistant today is telling me, "Hey, Albert, I want everybody to like you. I don't like you get a lot of negative comments." And you know what I do? I give Chanel bags to my employees. I fly them private. I buy them Rolexes. I lend them the Ferrari. I fly their family in. I give them cash prices. I treat them out to nice places. I mean, I can go
extreme loyalty. Yeah.
I could go on and on. I give them equity of the company. I just do a lot of great, even employees. I do a lot of great things, but people focus on the bad things. So I tell my assistant, hey, you know what? People are always gonna like. I have so many people that love me, way more than the people that hate me.
Yeah.
But the people that hate just stands like it shows more, like it gets more attention. Good stuff doesn't get too much attention. I do something good and I post it on my social media and people talk shit. I do something bad and or I do something controversial and people are like talking. So like no matter what I do, just the negativity, all that stuff is gonna stand out more. So I tell her, hey, you know what? When you have haters, that's just people that are jealous of you, that become envious, that become haters. And then one day they're going to be like, I used to know Albert. I used to fly private with Albert in his jet. I used to be Albert's friend. And then it's going to be 10 years later. But what people don't understand is, say, you know what? Business is not for everybody. It's like being in the army. Like it goes hand in hand. You could die any day. And it's going to be very, very dangerous. And you're going to have a lot of people that are going to betray you, that are going to lie to you, cheat, gossip, and just they want to see you fail. But the biggest revenge is going to be massive success.
Massive success.
And that's what drives me.
I love the haters.
Yeah, me too.
Haters keep coming.
We should have a haters party.
Yeah, we should.
Yeah.
We'll do an event for the haters.
Like haters come in for free. Because they're the biggest cheerleader. They're the biggest cheerleaders that you'll find.
Yeah, because they're giving you free content. Like they're posting on your stuff.
They're helping your algorithm.
Yeah,
and you know that people that love you, they watch your content maybe 1 hour a day, or maybe 30 minutes a day, or maybe even a minute a day. So for example, like I barely met you, but you're a cool guy, man. Man, I love what you stand for. I love what you do. I could tell you're a good human. I'll watch your content 5 minutes a day, 2 minutes a day.
I get 2 minutes of your time. That's awesome. We become like brothers at that point.
And I'll watch it, and whatever I see, I'll make a nice comment. Because I'm just busy, you know. I'm busy. I'm creating. I'm posting stuff. I'm having people react to me. I'm not reacting to other people. But the haters, they watch your content like 5 hours a day. They wake up to you. They go to sleep to you. They're taking time out of their day to comment a paragraph talking about you. That says more about them than you. Like they are obsessed with you. And I'm like, wow, like I'm using them. Like I'm using them to increase my social media algorithm. Like they're my fans. So I want to thank the fans. Like the haters are the biggest fans. I love them. I appreciate it.
They work the hardest for you.
Really hard, yeah.
Yeah.
They take time out of their day to just comment. So thank you for the comments.
On that note, is there like a mantra that you live by in your head, like outgrind everybody, or something like a mantra that just runs in your head every day?
You got to stay driven. When you stay driven, you're unstoppable. Once you lose your drive, you're gonna get stopped. So like me, I'm always driven. Like I wake up driven. That's why we named our event Driven. Because that's a big community, a large community of driven individuals. And if you're driven, you'll accomplish any of your dreams.
I love that. And you've managed to do that.
I mean, People like we were talking about like why do people like criticize or comment so much hate, things like that. Well, you gotta understand where they're coming from. You know, like there's people that haven't been tested yet, people that have a nice lifestyle for 2 years, 3 years. They have a lot of followers, and they're kind of like the new kids on the block.
Yeah.
But you have people that have been doing that for a decade or more. Like that to me is what gives you the credibility. They've been doing that for so long. So it comes to a point where they're like, hey, this guy has been driving Ferraris and Rolls Royces for 5 years, and it gets on their nerves, and then they leave your company, and then they want to see you fail, and then it's like, oh shit, it's already 10 years. He's still driving Ferraris, and he's still there, and it gets more, and then they become. It's almost like they want to see you fail. They live their life. Their purpose is to. I want to see this person fail because why? Just because they're envious, because they see in you what they want to have, but they are not willing to sacrifice, to put in the hard work, and to not give up. You know, most people give up on their dreams. So that's why when you're driven, you're unstoppable. Anything is possible.
It's not just the sacrifice, it's like the suffering. How much suffering have you endured?
You battle heart attacks, you get attacked. Like it's a lot of things.
It's like people don't know even now, like, oh, he's got millions of followers. Like, people don't understand. Like, I get turned down every day creating content, like, because I'm doing man on the street content. Like, it humbles you.
Yeah.
Like, I'm like, here I am. I'm like, here I'm this big CEO with, tons of employees or whatever. Like, yeah, hi, Mr. Shalaby, whatever. And like on the street, like, I'm spit on. Yeah. And it grounds me.
But that also makes you better.
Yeah, it grounds
me. You're not scared of doing anything. You're not scared of approaching people or.
But that's what it takes. If like people want to be creators, like you got to get out of your comfort zone. There is no comfort.
But you're a good sales guy. When people ask me, "Hey Albert, how did you become great in sales?" Because like I'm good in sales, you're good in sales, and the thing that I tell people is you got to talk to strangers. So what I tell, like especially for men, I tell and men or women, like let's say you're a man. And you think about the worst sales guy you've ever met that doesn't talk, doesn't dress good, smells bad, doesn't comb his hair, and is just very, very insecure. And then like the biggest introvert, right? So how do you get him good in sales? So I tell these people, hey, find the best nightclub. What's the best nightclub here in Irvine? Or
Newport, we got one nightclub. It's called Time Nightclub, and it's in Costa Mesa.
Time. So Time Nightclub. So go to Time Nightclub. And then what I want you to do is identify the 3 hottest chicks. All right. So find the 3 hottest chicks, and then make it a must that you gotta close one of them tonight. And by closing, you're gonna close them. You're gonna get their number. You're gonna take her home, whatever. But practice. The first night, you're gonna.
If they're married.
Well, don't take them home. just play a game and get their number, and then see how far you can go.
And that starts a lot with one's self-confidence. Like you have maintained good composure, good health, good fitness. Like a lot of married guys or a lot of people in the mortgage industry, like they let themselves go.
Yeah.
They eat junk. They eat fat. They definitely don't read the ingredients on anything. Like you were reading the ingredients on what protein bar you're gonna eat.
What you don't track doesn't improve.
Yeah. So we got a lot of people like just like let themselves go, be slobs, guys. One of my mentors always taught me, you always gotta be 2 weeks out of divorce. He's like, which means you got 2 weeks to hit the streets. That's your divorce. You gotta be like on your A game at all times, basically, like ready. Because your wife could leave you at any time. You gotta be ready to. So but that concept that thought process applies to, always being at peak performance.
Right.
Always be at your peak performance, mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually. Now, you got 3 daughters, and one thing I like to always bring up with parents on this show is, how are you instilling? Because me and you, we grew up dirt poor, so grit came almost naturally. It's almost like a superpower to be poor, right?
Yeah.
One thing I always work on and try to improve, because I got 4 kids, you got 3 kids, is how are you instilling that same level of grit into your children?
Well, I'm the first one to tell you I'm not perfect. I'm soft with my girls. I'm the type that they're like, "Hey, daddy, I want to have a treat. Hey, daddy, I want to get I want some coins for my Roblox or
Yeah, I need Robux is what you're talking about. You
yeah.
want Robux.
Is that what it is?
Yeah, it's Robux.
It's that game on the iPad where
Yeah.
they buy coins and things
You
like
could
that.
spend, by the way, millions of dollars on that game.
Yeah, so I'm probably one of those, but so what I do, so I get soft with my girls, because
Easier to
I'm a
get
man.
softer with
Yeah.
girls than boys.
But what I do is like sometimes I try to make them earn things. So I'm like, okay, well, we're gonna get some coins, but you're gonna do this. You have to clean up your room. You have to finish, like you want to get something sweet. Okay, well, you gotta eat your food. But also, we're very good because I let Sil, my wife, she's the one in charge at home. So she's in charge of what the girls are gonna do, and then I'm in charge outside at work. So like it's what mom says. But like for example, I'll give you an example. If you have kids as well, what do you do when one of your kids comes to you, whether it's girl or boy? And well, let's just say you're two boys, right? One of your boy comes and he says, "Hey, my brother hit me." What do you tell him?
Well, we reprimand the boys, but they always hit each other. By the way, they're like
Yeah.
always. And actually, my 4-year-old is always hitting every kid.
Yeah.
He's fighting the whole.
But if one of your kids comes, like whether it's the sister saying, "Hey," she comes crying and she tells you, "My sister hit me," what do you tell her?
Well, we do like a timeout thing. We make them stand in a corner.
But you believe her? Because usually it's no, she hit me first or things like that.
No, we confirm.
Yeah.
We definitely confirm. But usually we catch them in the act too.
So like one of my daughters comes, and Berlin's like, "Italia hit me," and I'm like, "Okay, hit her back.
Oh, you tell them to smack them back. Yeah, well,
Yeah.
girls fight.
Hit her back," and she's like, and at first they're like, so then I'm like, "Well, what are you gonna do when we're not here? Like you girls have to figure it out. Like you gotta and then what we do is we also get them both in trouble. Okay, you hit her back. Now both of you are in trouble. So no iPad for a week, and they both get punished. So then it's like a team thing. So like, hey, if we're on the same team, because if one of us does something bad to the other one, now you're both in trouble.
I like that strategy.
Yeah.
I like that strategy. Now, I want to ask you this. You've built some good wealth already, right? If you were to go back to your 20-year-old self, what would you tell your 20-year-old self what would you tell your 20-year-old self to build wealth?
Just stay away from drinking, from drugs, and from women, and focused on reading, getting a mentor, and building businesses. You got to build businesses. If you want to make a lot of money, you either have to be an employee or somebody that works for the company where you get equity of the company, or you got to go start your business. If you're going to be an employee and not get equity, then you're always going to be broke. So if you want to stay broke, stay an employee. Now, you could be an employee, but you got to work for a company that gives you equity. If not, then you got to go out there and start a business, but you got to have the knowledge, the blueprint, the mentor.
Yeah.
And how do you do that? It's all written in books. Like things don't have to be recreated. Copy the blueprint. Copy what works.
Yeah, I love that you always invest in mentorship.
Yeah, I've invested over 8 million bucks in mentorships, and I can break down the way I did it. But stay away from drinking alcohol, stay away from drugs, and stay away from women. Once you accomplish what you want to accomplish, then maybe you could celebrate a little bit. Maybe it's time for some go enjoy a nice glass of champagne. Go to that what's that club again?
Time.
Go to Time and mess around with some hot chicks. But I mean, don't waste your early years,
Your youth.
in that. Like use it spend it at building a business, and that way, when you get older, you're gonna have something big.
I love that advice. Those of you who are 20 years old, take that advice. That is golden nuggets right there. What's your favorite quote?
My favorite quote: "Don't be a little bitch."
That speaks volumes, by the way.
Yeah.
And like for your girls, do you think it's still important for them to go to college?
No, they're not. They're not going to college.
No need, huh?
They don't even go to. They don't go to normal school.
They go to homeschool.
They get homeschooled. The teacher comes to the house.
Did you get that concept from Grant Cardone?
No, I learned a lot from Grant. Like I love Grant, but I think he for sure he did that. I know he did that, and in a way I kind of did see it. He was one of the people that I saw that did that, but what made us decide to do that was number one, I don't like the way school is now. It's worse than it was before.
Yeah.
I don't like how there's a lot. We could get into that in deep dive, but I just one, if somebody's gonna mess up your kids, it's gonna be me and mom, me and Sil.